I would like to say to the people, are we ready to uphold a society where traditional spiritual law is what we follow? Because that's what the awakening is asking us.
So we have to be able to take that step today and make the changes that need to happen on our reservations or in our nation, and to make it so that we can make a life for the future of our people, utilizing our lands, our language, our ceremonies, our sacred sites.
Treaties between sovereign entities are governed by international law, and unilateral alterations by one party, such as the U.S. Congress, would generally be seen as violations unless expressly agreed to by the other party, in this case, the native nations. The Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Clause 2, treaties are considered the supreme law of the land and take precedence over conflicting state laws or congressional acts. Remember, we're talking about congressional bills are violations of the treaty, because no treaty can be changed without making another treaty, without a new treaty. However, the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld Congress's plenary power over Native affairs, often allowing Congress to unilaterally alter treaty obligations in ways that would be impermissible under international law. These treaties are considered international instruments. They're considered international law.
And they signed there was a treaty signed when they were fighting their 13 colonies. And I did the research and I found it. And it's not here in the United States. I had to look in Great Britain's history. And I found in their history books and things what they did. They even acknowledge making treaties with the Red Nations here to fight their own people. And they acknowledge that's their people that are here. 13 colonies came from them. Why? Because they kicked them out of their country for being murderers, robbers, rapists, you name it, thieves. They didn't want them, and so they kicked them out and put them here. So we got the worst of the worst in this country. That's why this government is so Shicha, so evil. And that was one of the things he really stressed, is how we got the worst of their people. And this is why they're treating us like that. But they want everything. And so England was trying to get these people under control. And so what did they do? They knew we were here before they sent their people here, because of the ones they sent. And so what did they do? Not wanting war, they reached out to our people and made treaties with us. That's the treaty I'm trying to find, because my grandpa told me about it. And so we agreed, our people and other Red Nations, to help them pretty much keep their people in line. But they also knew that their people were going to murder us and do the way they were. And so they started this war with them. But they used our people, the Lakota people. And that's how come we claimed the Louisiana Purchase territory. Because in those records, they know we were way down to Texas, all the way up into Canada. And there's records to and I even found them through their archives to prove that we were here. Not just here, but we were through all those states. There's 14 states that we cover that is our land base legally. So when these elders, and you're talking about very smart elders, knew that, they didn't just fight for the Black Hills. That's just a very small portion. But the only reason we're really fighting hard for the Black Hills, because that's a very spiritual, powerful place. My grandpa said, that's where our ancestors are. They're buried there. And that's where a lot of our spiritual power lies, is there. And we are not going to sell where our ancestors are. So when they built out there, he said, a lot of those graves, they're in caves, they're covered, and they probably dug some up and not wanting to tell us, because they really built out in the Black Hills. And he said, and that's why we have to stand strong, and we will never, and we should never want to sell that. Very powerful spiritual place when you go out there. You can feel them around you. You can feel them when you go out there. That's why you hear people say, we drive through Black Hills, And it feels so good, so safe, so spiritual because they're there. And they're helping us. So we reach out there, go out there and pray, he always said.
In a traditional way, that is the last straw to defend our children. Who's going to defend our children? Traditional way, that's it. Some of the men see it, and we have to fight for our children. Some of the men in the old days, the warriors used to stake themselves up. They stay there and fight until a comrade comes and takes the stake up. Those are the things that we need to think about. And we endured with it 200 years, so I know we're going to endure this too. But in the meantime, we have to do a lot of work. So put it simply, this system doesn't work. Maybe you already know that, and maybe you don't. But do some research. Talk to some people. You'll find out for yourself.
I got a lot of phone calls from private numbers. They must have looked at the poster and started calling. And they said, how come you guys don't talk about removing the council? That's what we're there for. You guys didn't talk about that. And we all know that it's corruption. So today, we want to do an action plan by moving forward with the removal. Now, people said, how are you going to do that? How are you going to go about it? Well, I've been studying and listening, live stream, council meetings and whatnot, and they talked about, now get this, they talked about cowboys and Indians on tribal council. You guys heard that. They talked about Republicans and Democrats on council. You guys heard that. But before that, when they're in disagreement, they're throwing hot coffee at each other. Remember that? And I was studying that when our Lakota people go in front of the council, it's like, hurry up, get your stuff done, story done, and get moving. That's what I seen. That's not the exact words what they said, but that's the attitude. But if they get a Washichu up there, they're all eyes and ears. They get out, they get away from their cell phones, they get away from their laptops, and they pay attention. But they don't pay attention to our people. They don't listen to our people. Again, they get on their laptops, they get on their cell phones, texting each other, ignoring us, defying us. They're doing things like that. They're not our people.
About this, what I used the other day, but it didn't begin with this. There were times when I brought this whip, and I brought a whistle, and I brought a pipe, because our council's always saying, well, I was never raised by that. Nobody never taught me, so I don't know anything. That's always their excuse, and they'll watch and listen, and as soon as you put it away, she said that right away, that they think their show's over. It's not a show. It's to support them. And we suffered a lot in my lifetime as a people here. Our land diminished. The Washichus are growing bigger and stronger, and yet we're getting worse and worse. And so I tried to correct those things through their process of IRA government. And finally, I know in the end, ever since I was a young boy, the only thing that saved us through these trying times was that sacred buffalo calf pipe. And so I even made a pipe, and I brought it here, and I explained it to this council. And I said, take this, take turns taking care of it. But we're having a hard time, so take it over there to the calf pipe keeper. Sit down with him and ask him to pray with you, and ask the spirits to guide you for some good answers and some good solutions for our people. But they even put that aside. I don't know whatever became of it. But it was then I began to realize that they don't have no respect or mercy. They don't have no Indian in them at all regarding what belongs to us. And so I started to speak up stronger. I started to speak specific issues. And each time I'll get bumped back through what they thought was their power and control. But it was this right here. Hechilanai Chopsinte. Long time ago, there was 3 important positions in every camp. It was Teoyate, that triangle. And over here is that Shiotunka. And that's the provider. That guy there in each and every camp, he knows all of the hunters and good wood gatherers and like that. So he coordinates them, and they all make sure that that camp is provided for, that everybody has food, everybody has a home, everybody has shelter and wood and water and provisions. And over here, Hele Ichapsinte, the whipman. The whipman, his job is the security and safety of all the people in that camp. So these two, they work together, and this guy, he knows all of the strongest and bravest warriors. He knows their territories. He knows where they go and what they can do. So he coordinates with them. And then that bottom tip, that's the spiritual leader. You look at that buffalo, it's that big diamond. And spirituality is our life. So that buffalo, his nose touches that grass. He breathes it in. He eats that grass. And somehow, miraculously, the little blades of grass, they turn into a big, huge buffalo with fur, hide, muscle, bone, sinew. He makes all of that for us.
I'm grateful for everyone to be waking up and to be becoming, to walk that day, to be aware, to start seeing things for what they are. And what my grandmother shared on the recording was the injustice that happened that led to the murder of my papa. And that is still the current state that we're living in because we choose to. Because we're complicit in participating in the IRA government. We uphold that. I would like to say to the people, are we ready to uphold a society where traditional spiritual law is what we follow? Because that's what the awakening is asking us. It's okay to say, I don't know about that, and to ask someone and to look for guidance, because that's what it's going to take for us all to become more educated and to remember what our kinship society looks like, what it means to be relatives, to look to our left and to right, and to ask someone, if you don't know something, to ask, how do I do this, or what does this look like, and to remember, because like she said, we have this innate sovereignty, inherent sovereignty, but we also have inherent knowledge that is ours, belongs to us through our prayers, and the answers are there if we're willing to uphold a society where traditional law can be what guides us.
We have to build a treaty council and support Cousin Joe here. As Wakpawashte, we have to build a treaty council, headsmen, treaty descendants, and elders. We pursue this position statement advocating for the immediate removal of Ryman the Bull, chairman of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. Our people lost confidence in his leadership. His sergeant at arms, Dean Dupree's, Derek Bartlett, District 5, Council Representative, and John Kessler, District 3 Council Representative, in response to their involvement in the harsh, hostile treatment and assault of Joseph Lafferty, elder and Whitman, and the mistreatment of the elders of the 4 original bands living on the Cheyenne River Agency and tribe during Ryman the Bull's tenure of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, and they be held subject to Article 3 of the 1851 Treaty on Depredations, Article 1 of the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty on a Bad Man Clause, CRST Constitution Bylaws Article 6, Section 2, Removal from Office, CRST Elderly Ordinance Number 58 on Elder Abuse, Resolution Number 104-05-CR, Code of Ethics, and that was a handout that I gave that was at the doorway there. And those are some of all the violations that they violated. The elders, tribal people, and relatives have endured all of the list of violations against them. CRST Law and Order Code, CRST Law and Order Abuse of Office, Section 3-4-62, Official Misconduct as a public servant with intent to harm another. And number 2, Section 3-4-63, Official Oppression, 1A or B, in the act of an official capacity, knowing his conduct is illegal. A, subjects another to arrest, detention, and mistreatment. B, denies or impedes another in the exercise or enjoyment of any right, power, or immunity. And preventing an elder from the freedom of speech. Sexual harassment, which they try to pull down his sweats while they attacked him. Cruel and unusual punishment. Incompetent and lack of confidence in the leadership of Ryman the Bull. We also encourage CRST Constitution Bylaws, Article 4, Powers of Self-Government under B, present and prosecute any claims or demands of the CRST of Indians in presenting their claims and grievances before any court or agency of government. We continue to support our previous hand-delivered letter to the BIA Superintendent in September 2024 to apply the bad man clause against the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, and that the superintendent was supposed to have been here to talk about that letter, but she didn't show up. As we are the Wakabawa State Oyate Topa Treaty Council, Harry Wakiana, Nanny Ironhawk, and Ivan Liquid Horse.
It's time for tribal council to do their jobs, to join the community who they serve in protecting our rights and getting rid of that illegal red tape that's impeding those rights. It's time for council to hear our cry for oversight and transparency, because that is something we haven't gotten ever. On a legal level, we have to start targeting these acts of Congress. We have to reestablish treaty making. We hold trillions in world resources. It's time to identify, protect, and leverage for the benefit of our nation, our security, and our future. Anything less is human and treaty rights violations. Last time I was here, we had people fill out a survey, and one of the questions was about trading. And it became very clear that bison is a necessity that every nation from Argentina to Alaska is looking to trade for. And people are already looking for that. They want to trade peppers, they want to trade chocolate. We have nations who are big in fishing, big in crops. We're big in ranching, supposedly. Even the oil tribes. Why not make deals to keep native oil in native vehicles? These gas stations out here, that's not our oil. And we all need to drive. We can start raising our standards as far as oil production is concerned, but we do need to make sure that we do it ethically. So why not make deals with these oil nations to supply, and also make sure that they set new standards for the ethical practices on indigenous lands? You see the MH8 nation, they're using the DAPL right now. And they're making billions a year. And for those of you who think clean energy is the answer, no, it's not. Critical mineral mining is not a healthy alternative. Not until extraction technology catches up with indigenous standards. That goes for oil as well. But many of us, we all drove here, so we have to focus on one thing at a time. And we can't add another thing to our issues already. The fact is 75% of all critical minerals for solar and wind energy storage, military weapons, and technologies of all kinds is on our land, 75%. 97% of nickel is on our land. 78% of lithium, 87% of copper. These are all military needs, necessities. Every nation needs to do an environmental impact statement for their individual treaty territories, like the Chicago Treaty Council has in the works right now. That in itself is an economy for each nation that does it. The inventory protection of lands is a multi-regional team effort that could employ many of our college students who are in that area of expertise, and this reflects in all different areas. Another example is the Crow Creek Security Force that was funded by the tribe, but the BIA wouldn't back it, so it was discontinued. The security force helped ease the pressure on law enforcement, and we're actually making an impact when it was discontinued. What we need to understand is our security in our homes and on our land, in our communities, is the cornerstone of our language and cultural protection. Without security, these disappear, and that's what we're seeing today. They say we have 20,000 language speakers. I bet it's 2,000. Another issue we never hear is how only 27% of ranching profit on Cheyenne River is made by our community. The rest of it goes to the U.S. economy. I have no doubt those funds that are meant to protect CRST ranching are not for that 27%. They're for the U.S. They're protecting their own. Today, our economy, security, and representation is non-existent, and this is where we need council to step up. Show us They want to invest in our community, our tradesmen and professionals, not American ones who went to Ivy League schools and just want a paycheck. No regard for our physical or mental health. Like I said, this isn't an us versus council. This is a, hey council, we're in an act of genocide. You've shown us no transparency. We see no progress from the millions in federal funds, grants a year. We see the statistics reflect negligence, and when it comes out, when we call it out, they intimidate us. They use their organizations to silence us around the reservation. This is a big reason why my organization's here. We are the only tribal watchdog group in the hemisphere, and we just want transparency so we can see why. Why is there $3 billion a year, a $3 billion a year genocide happening in 2025? The most we get from council is meetings and committees who get paid to talk instead of act. It's time for council to stand out of the chair and join us here on the ground. I think you see why the council should stop inflating our justified anger, like from Joe, into uneducated violence. But I digress. Today we're talking about solutions, and like I said, we're all here. And I have actually my organization, Tribal Anti-Corruption League. We're just an agency of record. We want long-form community-driven strategies and implementations. I'm from Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe. That's why I'm starting here. Every nation needs this. There are 576 in an active genocide. So in the back, I have a community commitment agreement. This is just a form to fill out. If you think you have an aligned contribution with my organization or the treaty councils, other people we've partnered with, and basically right now we need full transparency from our councils. We've been asking for this for as long as I can remember, and I'm all for the treaty council and their push to start unseating some of these complicit and compliant leaders who can't even show up today in their own community down the street, because they were all invited this time, they were all invited last time. And from this point on, I guess we look to each other. Like I said, we're all here. So let's talk, let's leave this room thinking about our new governance. Our inherent treaty rights. That's what we need to think about. We can't afford the BIA to pay our bills anymore. Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you, Joe, for standing and being the leader that we need now more than ever.